Hi and welcome back to our Database Design and Development unit. In this lesson we're going to continue with our design topic. Specifically, we are going to look at query design. Our learning intentions for today are as follows. At the end of the lesson, we hope to learn how to create a design for a query that includes tables, fields, search terms and sorts necessary to find specific information. As with every lesson, we have success criteria. This success criteria should be referred to throughout the lesson. Our success criteria for today is as follows. By the end of the lesson, we will be able to identify all the tables or entities to be included in a query. Be able to identify all the fields or entity attributes to be included in the query. And be able to identify all search criteria to be used in our query, and be able to identify any sorts to be used within our query. Once again, we should refer to these success criteria throughout the lesson. Before we begin, let's look at a definition. Search criteria. These are the terms, the words and numbers used to search for in the fields when carrying out a query on our data file. Query design. What is query design? Well, when database designers plan and design our database, they may wish to lay out and plan the queries that will take place within our database. The designers themselves will consider the purpose of the query, so what that query must do, and identify the tables or entities, fields, entity attributes, and the search criteria and sorts required to display the desired information from that database. In order to help you understand query design, I'm going to take you through a number of worked examples. To do this, we will look at a specific scenario. Execution error is a forum for students to discuss computing science. A relational database is used to store the details of forum members and the posts using two related tables. These tables are shown in our example. Query 1. Design a query to show the last name of members whose level is moderator. The first step we would take is to extract the key information that we want to see at the end of this query. In this case, last name and level are two fields of information or entity attributes that we want to see at the end of the query. We've also been given an extra piece of information. Level is moderator. Moderator would be our search criteria. Let's start populating this table now. The first row of fields would contain the two fields or entity attributes that we want to see at the end of the query. In this case, last name and level. The next row table or tables tells us where we will find these fields or entity attributes. In this case, both the last name and level will be found in the member table. It is worth noting that in some queries that we will use more than one table to extract information. As discussed earlier, our search criteria would be moderator. Okay, so in this case, level equals moderator. We only want to see the last name and level of those members who are moderators. Query number 2. Design a query to show the last name of members who posted on the 11th of January 2020. In this query, we will extract information from more than one table. Again, let's go through those steps. The fields that we want to see are last name and date. The tables we will extract these from are member and post. We can see the last name entity attribute is contained within the members table, and the date entity attribute is contained within the post table. Our search criteria would be date equals 11/01/20, posted on the 11th of January 2020. Our query designs are now becoming a little more complex. This is because we are adding more information. Query 3. Design a query to show the last name and the mem ID of members who posted on the 2nd of February 2021, sorted by mem ID ascending. Again, as normal, we go through the steps. Identify the fields or entity attributes that we want to see. In this case, we want to see last name, mem ID, and date. We identify the tables that we would find these entities or entity attributes in. Again, last name and mem ID would be found in the member table, and date from the post table. Our search criteria, as before, would be members who posted on the 2nd of February 2021. So date equals 02/02/21. And finally, we have a sort to carry out. We want to sort mem ID in ascending order. Query 4. Design a query to show the last name, level and email of members who posted on the subject of CPUs, sorted by date posted in descending order. Again, let's identify the entity attributes that we will use within this query. We want to see the last name, level and email of members. Those would be in the fields table. Where will we find that information? Well, we will find these three pieces of information within our member table. But remember, we want to identify the members who posted on the subject of CPUs. So therefore, the subject entity attribute would also come into play here. So we would be extracting or using information within the post table also. So therefore, both the member and post table would be used. Our search criteria would be on subject equals CPU. And the final part of our design would be the sort order. We want to sort the date posted in descending order. So date descending. Query number 5. Design a query to show the last name, level and email of members whose last name is Rossi and level is Junior, sorted by last name ascending. This query is called a complex query. The reason it's called a complex query is we now have more than one piece of search criteria. This will become a little clearer as we start to lay out our design. Again, what are the fields or entity attributes that we want to see? In this case, it will be last name, level, and email. Where do we find that information? We find this information within the members table. But again, we must remember that we are using other pieces of information within our search criteria. Last name and level as well. So we check where these pieces of information come from. And both come from the members table. As mentioned earlier, our search criteria is complex. That means we have more than one piece. In this case, last name is Rossi and level is junior. Last name equals Rossi and level equals junior. Notice that both pieces of search criteria are separated by the logical operator AND. Finally, our sort order, sorted by last name ascending. Query 6. Design a query to show the last name, level and email of members whose level is junior or senior. Again, this query is a complex query as we are using more than one piece of search criteria. This time we are using a different logical operator to separate those two pieces of criteria. This will become clearer as we begin to lay out our query design in the table. Again, the first step is to identify the fields that we want to see or use in our query. In this case, last name, level and email will again be used. Where are these identified from? These can be identified from the members table and our search criteria. We want to see those members whose level is junior or senior. So level equals junior or level equals senior. This means that we will see members whose level is junior or level of senior. Both pieces of criteria could be relevant. In this case, we don't have any sort information to complete. We have come to the end of our database design and development lesson on query design. We hope you took something from the lesson, and please take the opportunity to go back and watch the lesson again. Thank you for viewing our YouTube channel, Greif High Business and Computing Science. Please tell your friends about us and please subscribe.